Hi, and welcome to Color Your Home Happy. I'm Justine, founder and creative mind behind Rainbow Shaker, a colorful interior design studio in London. My goal is to spread joy and happiness through the design of cheerful interiors. If, like me, you think that we need a colorful bubble to escape the daily gloom, then this podcast is definitely for you. Each episode, I will be welcoming well-known guests from various colorful backgrounds. You won't find us speaking about the right way to use colors. In this podcast, I want to help you trust your intuition and give you all the confidence you need when designing interiors full of dopamine. Hi, and welcome to a new vibrant episode of Color Your Home Happy. I'm Justine, your vibrant host and interior designer at Rainbow Shaker. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome the queen of maximalism herself, Siobhan Murphy, aka Interior Curve, with an incredible eye for detail, a passion for vibrant colors, and a knack for mixing patterns and textures. Siobhan turns everyday spaces into extraordinary, glamorous heavens. She's the author of More Décor, the interiors editor for House of Coco magazine, and you've probably seen her on TV shows like Interior Design Masters and Steph's Packed Lunch. On top of all that, she's created her own collection of fabrics, wallpapers, homeware, and even clothing, all bursting with her signature style. So, Siobhan, I'm so excited to dive into all things maximalist with you. Hi, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Justine. Thank you for having me. I always like to talk about my favourite topic of colour, pattern, texture, maximalism. It's all my favourite things in the world.
We see that you're dressed all pink in your fabulous chatelaine.
I'm in the dressing room today, but yeah, pink. It's just pink everywhere. It's like a Barbie house, my house sometimes.
Can you tell us a bit more about your background and your colourful journey?
Yeah, of course. I've always loved fashion from being a child, from playing with my fashion wheel, designing clothes from a really, really young age. So I actually went to Leeds College of Arts and I studied fashion and accessories, and later on went to study hat making. So I'm also a trained milliner. And then I got into a corporate job. I was working for the NHS for many, many years. And I think I was kind of like moving up the ladder in the corporate world. And I kind of lost my creativity for quite a lot of years. And then my husband and I went traveling for 6 months. We did like a little round the world trip. I took like a 6-month sabbatical from work. And on that trip, I said, look, when I get home, I want to start like doing something. Like I want to bring my creativity back because I kind of felt that I'd kind of lost that side of myself. And that's what happened. So yeah, I got into interiors. I was doing interior projects for like family and friends. And obviously in my own home, started an Instagram account. And then 3 years or 4 years ago, I got contacted on Instagram, and it was one of the casting agents for Interior Design Masters. They said, Siobhan, we love your style. We're doing a new series. Do you want to apply? So I did. And we were just all very exciting. I loved doing the show. It was absolutely brilliant. Learned a lot. Then it just kind of gave me that platform that I needed. And it gave me the kind of pick up the bum that I needed to really pursue my passion full time rather than a hobby. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years. So it's been one hell of a ride, but it's been great. Yeah. Every day I wake up and I'm doing something that I love and I'm being creative. Yeah, it's just been fabulous. For me, every single project that I do, I have like an emotional attachment to, because it's really important, especially, you know, when you're doing something in somebody's home. That's their home. It's a sanctuary, isn't it? It's to be able to make their lives better and happier and more joyful. That brings me joy as a designer.
It's definitely what I love most about interior design. You're pulling your heart into it. So sometimes my husband is telling me like, put like a little distant with your clients. And I'm like, no, I can't, because the design is me. There is no barrier.
It literally goes hand in hand, doesn't it? And also like really like random jobs as well. So over the last few weeks, I've actually, one of my clients wanted me to design her camper van. So she's got this amazing big camper van, and it was like, I just want it to be like the Beverly Hills Hotel inside. And I was like, well, I can do that for you. It's not just like your traditional interior design where it's just like a room. You know, it keeps things fresh, it keeps things interesting.
In terms of color, have you always had this attractiveness to colors? Was your family very colorful as well?
I wouldn't necessarily say my family was colourful, but my family on my mum's side definitely quite arty. My grandma was like an oil painter. She painted a lot of beautiful oils, still life and things like that. And my mum's very crafty and quite arty too. So I think I definitely get that from my mum's side of the family. In terms of colour though, I think I've just gone through phases. In our last home, it was just quite a modern house. And I can remember years ago, I went on an Abigail Ahern interiors course and literally came back from that and just painted every single wall in my house black, which might be quite surprising. But then it was kind of layering on top of that, like lots of gold, lots of brightly coloured artwork. It was quite different. I think your house also kind of determines how you decorate. So we moved into our Art Deco house, I think it's like 5 years ago now. And, you know, that whole like dark aesthetic wouldn't really match. So I wanted to just basically create a really colourful, very joyful home. And that's what I've been doing for myself over the last 5 years. It's been really fun. And then every time I bring out a new wallpaper, I'm kind of like, right, well, what room can I decorate? You know, what room can I put this wallpaper in? I'm constantly decorating, constantly doing something different.
I wanted to ask you, how can you explain the term maximalism?
So I think maximalism, I think it has a bit of a bad rep sometimes because I think people think, oh, just throw a load of stuff together and see what kind of sticks. But actually, I think considered maximalism, it is quite hard to do right, I guess. Because, you know, we are talking like lots of colours and textures, patterns and things like that. For me, I think maximalism is a real self-expression. I've always kind of been a maximalist. I've always liked stuff. I like to collect things. I love collections. And I just think it's kind of displaying those things in, you know, a really cute, quirky way. But also just, it's that richness, it's that layering. I don't like to be able to like read a room straight away. So when you walk in somewhere, I like to have like a little vignette as your eyes are like cascading around the room. It's really nice that you've got like all these things to look at and to have interest. And I think it's all about expressing your personality. So it's basically just bringing together all the things that you love, the things that bring you joy. So for me, like collections, rather than having them tucked away in an attic or in a drawer or, you know, things like that. It's like, if that brings you joy and you've taken a long time to collect these things, or you've got things that remind you of your travels or, you know, happy times, photos, memories, then why not surround yourself with them so that every day you see them and it makes you smile when you walk past. So it's definitely not just chucking a load of stuff together and seeing what works.
It's always connecting back to the storytelling and personality in your space.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm working on a project and I'm doing a bedroom. She was a teacher, but her passion was weaving and embroidery. So the first time we met and I went through, what does your dream bedroom look like then? You know, how do you want to feel in the space? Like, what are your favourite colours? And I think it's also important to be like, have you got some pieces that we can kind of incorporate? Maybe some beautiful quilts that we can layer on the bed, or have you got some embroideries that we can maybe like frame and things? Even if it's just kind of bringing something in, like making a cushion out of it. What are the things that you love that we want to kind of showcase? But yeah, I always like to obviously bring a lot of the client into the scheme as well, because you want them to feel like they're on a bit of a design journey with you as well, which is nice, isn't it?
Yeah, and also when you're creating or upcycling, then you will give more importance to the object or the furniture that you're creating, and you're having a connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be a unique piece then as well, isn't it?
So you like to thrift as well, go to car boot sale?
Oh my God, yeah, I am the car boot sale queen. Like literally over the summer, every Saturday morning, I am at the car boot. We've got some great ones actually in Yorkshire. The one that I go to, it's called a car boot sale, but there's a lot of like vintage traders, there's a lot of like antiques and things like that. that. But yeah, I just love it. You kind of never know what you're going to get. And I've had so many good bits from the car boot sale, especially things like ceramics. I absolutely love ceramics. I can't resist. So over the last few years, I've been collecting, the Italian ceramics. So lemon, orange, and like big fruit bowls made of ceramics. Well, I can't resist anything for a fiver. But yeah, even if I don't buy anything, I like to have a little look, see what people are selling. It's just really interesting for me because I think every little piece has a little story attached, doesn't it? I don't like everything to be new. It just doesn't kind of sit right with me. And I think introducing a little bit of old stuff in your interiors might be something with a bit of patina on it, or just something that kind of tells a story, something that's got a bit of an age to it. I think for me, that's important to have at least one or two vintage pieces, and also from a sustainable point of view as well, isn't it? It's kind of nice to give things a second home. I think that's really important.
Also, I did a project where they don't have that much budget to have items.
It kind of pushes your creativity too, doesn't it? Sometimes having a budget, because you're like, right, well, this is the kind of look that I want, but we're not going to be able to afford like all these high-end furniture pieces. So how do I get that look? Anybody can just throw loads of cash at a project, can't they? And where's the creativity there is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Maximalism is hard for some people because you're mixing a lot of patterns and textures, 2 or more wallpapers in a room plus fabric with different motifs.
Yeah, that is one of the questions that I get asked quite a lot about. Where do I start? People find it very overwhelming, don't they? And I'm always just like, well, if you're going to use a wallpaper, I think that is a really good starting point. If you pick one wallpaper that you absolutely love and then work with some of the colours like within that and get your paint literally colour matched so it's an identical match, the wallpaper and things like that. You can't really go far wrong, I think, if you do that. I think if people are like wanting to like dip the toe into maximalism and they're wanting to, maybe do like some pattern clashes and things like that, start maybe like with one wallpaper and then I'd kind of pick out some of those colours within that wallpaper and kind of not necessarily like really restrict your colour palette, but even if you're kind of using a few different wallpapers and a few different fabrics, if the colours of maybe 3 or 4, that's going to be your colour palette. And also make sure that each of the pieces kind of have their own language. Like I don't really like mixing a lot of genres, like, industrial and mid-century. And I think sometimes if you kind of like, right, okay, what is the kind of vibe? Is it Hollywood Regency? Is it Art Deco? Is it contemporary? The overall aesthetic, and kind of work with that. I think that's a good way to kind of go about it.
Yeah, and I think also don't put limitations on the number of fabric or motifs in a room.
Absolutely. And it doesn't always have to be matchy. In fact, it's better if it's not matchy, isn't it? When I first started doing interiors like my own, it'd always be like, your curtains have got to match your bedding. And I don't know if it was kind of like maybe a bit of an 80s thing that everything has to be matching. Now I prefer everything not to be matching. And, I think tonally, if it works, then it's kind of nice. And it's going back to that thing where you don't just want to like walk into a room and be like, oh, well, it's all matching. And I can see it straight away. You want to be like, oh, yeah, that works with that. Those two fabrics like next to each other look really nice. And yeah, I think it's all about that layering, isn't it? That it kind of just makes a space interesting.
I think lots of people are trying to find what's right, the right way to mix the right wallpapers or the right motif. Creativity is everywhere. You'll have inspiration all around you. For example, if you see brick wall, then you have reed motif, then you see it close to another motif, like, I don't know, stripes, and then you're like, okay, then I have those 2 motifs and it making me think of this memory or something, and you're bringing in your personal story into it instead of having it right like all the other people or like the right rules and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's definitely time to throw the rule book out the window really when it comes to interiors. I think sometimes people think, oh, you can't do that, or there's a rule where you can't paint your ceiling anything other than white, or it's all these kind of things, or like, you can't use a dark colour in a small room. For me, I think if it's a small room, whether you paint it white or you paint it black, it's still going to be a small room. So just like paint it whatever colour you want. I wrote the book More Décor, and in that I talk about breaking the rules, I guess, with interior. I don't think I really like to stick to rules, and I just think if a colour makes you happy, if a certain pattern makes you happy, then that's fine. Just go with your gut rather than thinking about what other people think, really. I think that's what we to do less of.
Yeah, because people always are going to have an opinion, but your house is about you. It's like where you live, like not other people.
Exactly. When you close that door on an evening and just, shut the world out, you want to be in your happy space. And I think as well that homes are working harder at the moment because a lot of people now are like working from home as well. So it's not just your home, it's your office as well. Our homes have to work harder. And I think lockdown, that's why the interiors industry just went from 0 to 100. People were looking around the homes, weren't they, and thinking, oh my God, like if I've got to stare at these 4 white or grey walls for 8 hours a day, it's not really bringing me a lot of joy. I think that's why people then started thinking, oh, okay, we need to bring a bit of colour in and a bit of life. And yeah, I think people are a little bit braver. I think I've definitely seen over the last couple of years, people being a bit braver with their interiors and colour and really like pushing the boundaries quite a lot. I think that's really, really nice to see. What's the worst that can happen? Just go for it.
If you love this podcast and wants to create a home that makes you smile every time you walk through your door, you're going to love my new online course, Color Your Home Happy. It's a fun, self-paced course designed to help you create a vibrant, joyful home that reflects you. With 6 inspiring modules, outside-the-box exercises, quirky DIYs, and exclusive discounts from colorful brands, it's packed with tools to help you transform your space and break free from boring interior design rules. Head over to the link in the episode's description. Pre-order is open now for the early bird discount, and the offer is available until December 23rd. So hurry up, let's break the rules together and color your home happy. What we can see in my work is that I like to use a lot of bold colors, but I use it as kind of a Bauhaus style. The colors are here to highlight the function.
Colour for me, it's very evocative, isn't it? Colour in a room will really determine how you feel in that room. So I always kind of start with that as well. You know, if I'm speaking to a client or designing a scheme, the emotion of colour, like, you know, what colours are you drawn to? But also, how do you want to feel in the space? And also, colour can be very personal because one colour for one person might mean different things. Red, for instance, like I'm loving red at the moment. I've just been introducing some red in my kitchen. But for a lot of people, red is like danger. It's kind of like, you know, the stop sign, isn't it? It's kind of a warning. But for me, red's like warm. It's quite sexy. It's quite like a sensual colour. So it's understanding like people's reactions to different colours. It's funny because I was doing a project. It was a brand new show home design. So it was the entire house. And they wanted a bit of Siobhan Murphy, but obviously we have to appeal to the masses. And it was really funny because a couple of the guys, the people that worked for the company, came to have a look round and they were like, oh, this is a very bright pink in the downstairs loo. And I was like, that is literally like kind of a really pale baby pink. I thought it was like the most subtle pink ever. But for them, they were like, this is wild. And I was like, I haven't seen nothing yet. It's funny, isn't it? People are like, oh God, this is a bit out there. This is a bit wacky. And I'm like, God, this is not like me really, really toning it down. You don't know people's kind of like limits, do you, when it comes to colour? I'm kind of lucky that a lot of the clients that I have, they're not coming to me for a neutral Scandi scheme, are they?
Yeah, they know who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And the same with you, you know, we have our own personal style, but people are definitely coming to us out there for colour, for a bit of playfulness, a bit of fun.
Yeah, I read a book about color and perception and historical meaning from Michel Pastoureau, and he said that interestingly, now we can see more colors, like our range of colors have expanded from before because of electricity, all of that, and we have a wider range. But interestingly enough, now people have kind of said, okay, color is basic and the luxury now is like gray and beige. It's colorless, but we can see more colors. So it's like, no.
This has been a trend that's been going for quite some time now, and I'm so over it. We don't really follow trends, do we? But I see some pictures and things like that on Instagram, and I'm like, has this got a filter on it? Is this like a black and white picture? And it's like, no, that is actually like somebody's home, and it's like there's just no colour. And I'm like, how do you live? And then you look at like what they're wearing and you're like, there's no colour in what you're wearing. There's no colour in your home. And I just thought, gosh, imagine like living like that. I find it really sad. I just want to go around and paint a few walls.
Yeah, or at least bring some cushions or I don't know.
Something. Give me something. I don't know what it is. Is it a lack of imagination? Do people really like this? I was staying in a hotel last night and again, it was very much that vibe. You know, it was kind of luxury with the concrete and the plaster and the boucle. I could kind of see what they were trying to do. But for me, a hotel room that's very grey, and very neutral. It felt really prison-like to me. If I'm staying somewhere, I want to be wowed, or I want to feel like it's a bit of a home from home. For me, hotels are a massive source of inspiration from like an interiors point of view. And I think even if you go somewhere and you maybe can't afford to stay in the hotel, just to go and have a coffee or whatever and just kind of like look round and soak it all in. The lighting's always great in hotels and everything's always like on a big scale, isn't it? I think you can get so much inspiration from hotels, you know, and obviously like the one that you did in Paris. So there's a carpet shop over the road from where I live, and literally you walk in and every single carpet is grey. And I can remember phoning up a few years ago. I wanted a lovely pink wool carpet for my stairs. And I phoned up and I said, I'm looking for a wool carpet. I want a really nice quality one. And I want pink. And he was like, oh, is it for like a little girl's room? And I was like, no, it's for me. I remember reading something about a sofa company. They did this big advertisement about this amazing, bright, acid yellow sofa. And everybody was like, oh my God, have you seen the sofa? And they said, actually, everybody comes in and they look at that sofa and then they're like, yeah, but we'll have it in grey because we might go off the yellow one in a few years. And I'm like, get the yellow sofa. If that's the one that you love. I think it's always like people playing it safe, isn't it?
Yeah. Fashion and interiors are really like this crossover because your fashion style and your interior design style, they're cohesive, they're fitting of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just like with colours, certainly like in my own home, my own wardrobe, the colours are very similar, you know, lots of pinks and lilacs and yellows, lots of really nice prints and things like that. And again, like textures, I wear like a lot of turbans, which are all like velvets, and I love silk and linen, cashmere. I've got a cashmere jumper on, and it's just that feel, isn't it? It feels nice, whether it's on a cushion or whether it's on a jumper. I like anything that's kind of tactile.
You're a touchy-feely person as well. Every time I'm entering somewhere or I'm seeing someone, I have to touch
when I'm putting an interior scheme together, I love mood boards. And I think digital mood boards do have a place, but for me, there's nothing like pulling together, you know, a scheme and having all your fabric samples and get the paint and actually, you know, put it on a piece of paper just so that you can kind of see the texture, see how that sits, and maybe some different metals and tile and things like that. I think it's kind of nice to kind of feel and touch and see not only how the colours work together, but see the layers of the textures.
When you had that corporate job or before becoming an interior designer, did your personal fashion style was the same as now, like very maximalist, or did you notice a change?
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't going to work like in a grey suit, put it that way. But yeah, definitely my style was more toned down. You know, a lot of the time I was doing talks to 200 GPs, pharmacists. So yeah, I had to kind of tone down a little bit, not too much. But I think certainly over the last 5 or 6 years, it's kind of just been gradual. I think definitely my style in fashion and in interiors, it's ever evolving really, isn't it? You know, you're learning new things, you're learning new techniques. And it's kind of like layering up like your skills and your experience. And I don't know if it's like a confidence thing. Like when you're younger, there's always that, oh God, I can't wear that. You know, what are people going to say? What are people going to think? And as you get older, you kind of don't really care less, you know, what people kind of think about you as well. I kind of fell out of love with fashion for quite a lot of years. I think being a plus size girl back in the day when, you know, there wasn't the internet and things like that. Obviously it's better for us now. But, you know, I couldn't shop on the high street and, you know, being a lover of fashion and then not being able to buy things that fit, I think probably was one of the reasons why I kind of started on my interiors journey as well, because it was like, right, well, you know, I want to be creative and, you know, I see the body or a room as a blank canvas. And it's, you know, how we express our personalities, you know, through what we wear or, you know, how we decorate our homes as well. I think it's that self-expression that I think is really important.
Yeah, exactly. Creativity is everywhere. Your personal wardrobe as well.
Absolutely. If you're wanting to decorate and you kind of like, I don't know where to start, just have a little look in your wardrobe. It might be a beautiful silk scarf that you've got. It might be a really beautiful blouse that you really like the colours of. And even things like that can be a starting point to a room design. Sometimes I'll go to a client and the house might be very neutral or minimal, but then you look in the wardrobe and they've got, you know, leopard prints and sequins. And I'm like, why is that not like in your home?
At some point, I remember what you did when you launched your wallpaper collection is that you dressed yourself with your wallpaper.
Yeah, so we made, I think there's about 100 wallpaper fans, and then we stuck them all together. It was a really fun project, actually. Yeah, we had a bit of a giggle. Getting in and out of that dress was fun. Yeah, it looked amazing, didn't it?
It was fabulous.
Yeah, I was almost tempted just to keep it on, but I couldn't sit down in it, and I definitely couldn't have gone to the toilet in it. So,
and it reminded me of Going with the Wind, and she uses curtains to make her dress, and I was like, oh,
I love that.
Parallel.
It's usually like fashion first, isn't it? And then like the interiors, like things come after. So it's nice to kind of switch it up, isn't it?
Yeah. As you also said previously, is that depending on the type of space you're in, you will design it differently. And for me, when I enter a space, it's like I'm meeting a new person. Like I imagine a character. What does it look like? Is it like blonde, redhead, or a woman, a man? What's his style? And then it can also help you dress it as a person. You're dressing your space.
Oh my God. I love that. I love that idea. That's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I might do that on my next project.
So we are coming to the end of the episode. Do you have one last tip or advice for our listeners?
Yeah, I think just go with your gut, like really trust your instincts and don't care what anybody else thinks. You know, if you love it, then it's the right thing for you. And, you know, just go for it, be bold and ditch the drab, ditch the grey, bring a bit of colour, buy the yellow sofa.
And also, if you haven't done it yet, have a look at Siobhan's book. So More is More Décor, where you can learn more about maximalism and also have lots of advice for example, mixing patterns together, textures.
Thank you.
So can the listeners contact you maybe through Instagram or your website?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Interior Curve and my website is interiorcurve.com. So you can contact me there. You can also see some of the projects that I'm working on at the moment. There's all sorts on there. Bit of fashion, bit of interiors, me going about my daily life, my lovely ragdoll cat makes an appearance, Benji.
Your Instagram is definitely bringing me joy every time I open it. So
yeah, that's good. Joy and the inspiration. That's what we like.
So that's it for today's episode of Color Your Home Happy. Thank you very much, Siobhan, for joining me and sharing your vibrant maximalist energy with me.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, I absolutely loved our chat, and I hope our listeners are feeling inspired to bring even more color and joy into their own spaces. Also, to all of you listening, I want to hear from you because next week will be, sadly, the final episode of Color Your Home Happy, and I'd love your input on what we could include. Maybe you want to hear some funny behind-the-scenes bloopers, a recap of the season's best insight, or maybe a special guest to wrap things up in style. So head over to my Instagram at rainbow.shaker to share your thoughts and help make this finale ultra special. Thank you again for being part of this incredible journey. I can't wait to celebrate with you for the final episode. So see you next week. And until then, keep trusting your intuition, embrace the bold, and most importantly, color your home happy.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, don't hesitate to subscribe, rate, or review on the different listening platforms. To say hello and get all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at rainbow.shaker. And if you want to check out my services, you can go to my website, www.rainbowshaker.com. Thanks again, and I wish you all a very colorful day. See you next time.